Hello, I am your host, and this is 35 Fox Talks. Before this video really begins, we have an admin update, a disclaimer, and bonus material notification. The admin update is that evidently I've been pronouncing J-A-D-O wrong. It's not Jado, it's Jado, with a long A. The disclaimer is what you are about to see is a completely fake and made up scenario using unclassified and publicly available date scenario data. Locations and borders are from date and generally follow existing borders for ease of cartography. Mapping. Any likeness to real-world persons, places, events, or things is coincidental and not purposely made by the 35 Fox Talks creative team. While this scenario starts with parallels to historic events, it will not follow their path and outcomes. What you think will happen is unlikely to occur. Alright, with that out of the way, we want to let you know that at the conclusion of the briefing, we will be providing you with bonus content. Our bonus content will show you how we made the graphics and what free mapping software we used. Now, on with the show.
The world woke up this morning to a concerned Caucus asking the United States to move forces into its country in order to counter a proclaimed Denovian threat. For weeks, Denovia has been diplomatically tightening the vice on its western neighbor, Pirtuni, in a bid to rig the oil and gas markets of Europe to Denovia's economic favor. Caucus reports that increased Denovian military displays and warmongering have emboldened the separatists of Zabzimek and South Ostromec. Caucus efforts to contain the unrest has caused the mobilization of Denovia's southern military district under the banner of defending the hard-won independence of Denovians from a weak and greedy Gorgon government. It now appears to the world that another Denovian-Caucus war is imminent.
Good evening, General, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's briefing will be a situation update on recent Denovian actions in the Black Sea region. Denovian actions in diplomatic relations with neighbors remains within historic norms. However, tensions are escalating. The core of the tensions are based on the stalling Denovian economy. 2 years ago, the combination of dropping oil prices and economic stabilization measures forced the Denovian government to run a deficit. The only positive result of the crisis has been a reduction in the inflation rate, which is now in single digits. The continued low price of oil is now having a significant impact on Denovian stability because oil comprises 51% of Denovia's exports. In total, oil, gas, and industry make up 54% of Denovia's national GDP. Denovia seeks to quickly stabilize its economic situation by increasing natural gas production from comprising just 31% of its exports to 45%. However, Denovia is projecting it will not be able to make up its financial shortfalls with the increase in natural gas production because of two problems. Problem one is Pirtuni currently carries 50% of Denovian natural gas to European markets, and while it can handle the necessary increase in gas flow, it is unwilling to negotiate a deal that favors increased profits for Denovia at the expense of meaningful profit gains for Pirtuni itself. Next slide. Problem two is in order to bypass Pirtuni and export natural gas through surrounding border nations, Denovia will have to invest scarce funds to expand existing gas infrastructure or build new pipelines. While Denovia does intend to invest in expanding its international infrastructure, it believes it must find a quicker solution in order to avoid civil unrest. To Denovia, it now appears those solutions only exist through Pirtuni. More ominously, reporting indicates Denovia believes NATO is maneuvering against its return to a superpower because the economic standoff with Pirtuni is occurring simultaneous to Pirtuni's efforts to join the European Union and renegotiate the NATO-Pirtuni Commission, NPC. It is assessed with moderate confidence that these factors have led to Denovian senior leadership assessing their diplomatic and economic pressures on Pirtuni will fail, and that the information and military pressures must now be applied. Next slide. To that end, Denovia has started an information campaign highlighting the corruption of the Pirtunian People's Bloc. Reporting also indicates Denovia has started supporting the Socialist Progressive Pirtuni Bloc with funds and political mentorship while providing the separatist Pan-Denovian Movement Party with military training for its guerrilla forces. We assess with moderate confidence this last point is the main reason for the military exercises in western Denovia. These exercises along Pirtuni's borders provides cover for true Pan-Denovian movement guerrilla members to cross into Denovia and return with experience and supplies. The Denovian exercises have the additional benefit of militarily intimidating Pirtuni. Now, 2 weeks ago, Caucus was pulled into this tense situation by its anti-separatist factions and militias known as the People's Liberation Republican Martyrs Group and the Falcon Brothers. Both organizations have started a renewed infowar and guerrilla attack effort against the Zabzimek separatists. Most notably, many of the major attacks against the separatists have been along supply routes in southern Denovia and northern Zabzimek. Denovia has naturally reacted with strong force to these attacks, as they threaten the Black Sea oil and gas pipelines, along with threatening the lives of Denovian civilians. Say again, sir? No, sir. So far there is no reporting to indicate the PL-RMG or the Falcon brothers are purposely attacking into Denovia in hopes of causing a Denovian overreaction that draws European or U.S. forces into the Caucasus to de-escalate the situation on Gorgis's behalf. All reporting indicates the government of Gorgis has cut ties to these groups and is arresting their political members in an attempt to regain control over the situation. Unfortunately, the actions of these pro-Gorgis militias has played right into the pre-existing fears of Denovia. Because the government of Gorgis has been lobbying to join NATO for the past few years, the Denovian government has issued public statements that the government of Gorgis is using its secret military to attack innocent Denovian civilians in a disgusting effort to cause instability in the Black Sea, and paint Denovia as the villain Gorgis and its false territorial claims needs to be defended from. The situation has deteriorated to the point that Denovia has ejected the Gorgis Army Peacekeeping Battalion from South Ostromec. That battalion was conducting joint Denovian-Gorgis armistice patrols in the other separatist area within Gorgis. The Gorgis public response to this act has been split, with half the populace calling for de-escalation and the other half calling for military action and world support in preventing Denovia from stealing more Gorgis territory. No, sir. There is no reporting that the Gorgis military is supporting the pro-Gorgis militias. However, we do assess with low confidence that low-ranking soldiers in the Gorgis army are providing supplies and information to the militias. Next slide. According to Multi-Int reporting, the Southern Military District has not actually mobilized its military units. However, the Southern Military District has established an operational support center to coordinate counterterrorism operations by the 83rd Airborne Brigade, which has been transferred from counterinsurgency operations in the Southeast Caucasus, the 720th Separate Motorized Brigade, and elements from the 3283 Special Purpose Forces Brigade. The Ministry of Interior has also attached the 8th Internal Security Brigade to the support center. Finally, yesterday, the Denovian MOD issued a communique to the Gorgis government via the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that the government of Gorgis would be held accountable for any further attacks in Zabzamek and Denovia. If another attack occurs, the Southern Military District will have no choice but to proportionally react in defense of the Denovian people and peoples under its protection. All of these actions have been reported in the media as a complete mobilization of Denovian forces, resulting in the Gorgis call for military assistance. No, ma'am. We haven't received any reports of cyber attacks against Gorgis infrastructure, but it is fair to assume Denovian assets are at work to be ready if they get the word to conduct operations. No, sir. Denovian strategic forces and A2AD elements are maintaining routine operations. There's nothing to indicate heightened alert or operational preparedness. Acknowledged, sir. We will provide you an update on the disposition of strategic forces and work with planners on Denovian courses of actions to force flow options. Pending your questions, this concludes the brief. Hello, Fusionistas. Welcome to our bonus material. We know you're busy, so let's get right into it. We start on the Odin page, Gorgis, and then all those Pamisi factors. In order to see what the provincial boundaries of Gorgis are, we went to the political area, pulled up the provinces of Gorgis map, saved it, and then went to a different application. That application is actually found and supported by the NGA Geovisualization Service. So here's the link on Google, but of course, because it's a CAC-enabled website, even the landing page we can't show, because as soon as you click this link here, it immediately asks for your CAC card. So just know that this is available. Communicate with your GeoInt specialist within your organization, and then you can learn what access you have and what tools you have available via Nipper. Now this is important. We made a KML for a specific reason, because in the next application, that's the only geo file that application accepts. And you'll understand why when we bring up map.army. So here's a big disclaimer. This is not a US government or even a US application. This is a European company based in Switzerland. What that means is you can't run this application on a government computer. It also means that the files you export or save from this application can't be used in something like Google Earth, Arc, or any other application that we commonly use for mapping and georeferencing. Nonetheless, this is an excellent application. It's an excellent mapping software. And as you see, if what you want to do is sit at home and constantly rehearse and train yourself on how to build overlays, how to build graphics, an ease of use system for at-home training in this COVID world, this is fantastic. This is it. You don't need a CAC card. and it'll help you improve your tradecraft. Okay, disclaimers aside, on the landing page, first what you're going to see is documentation and language selection. Languages, you have English, German, French, Italian. When you click on documentation, it's well documented. There's an entire YouTube channel that they also have that supports this. So if you ever get stuck, it's all here along with the company's info. So if we go ahead and click Start Application, a new window opens up. And you can go ahead, same thing as in Google Earth, zoom to the area that you want, hit Map Overlays in the upper left, Vector Layers, Add Layer. We go ahead and select the layer we want. It brings it in. Naturally, the layer closest to the top is the one on top of the map, and the layer closest to the bottom gets shoved down in the map. Now, the map itself, in terms of a tutorial, is very easy to follow. Again, the documentation is there, but in that upper left area, so going down from being able to add layers, you then have map options where you can change the map background, some other functions. In the bottom left, you have the ability to measure routes or measure straight line point to point or measure an area. And then in the upper right, what we have is the ability to add military symbology on a NATO 2525 capability. And then once you plot either your graphic control measure or your unit, the other two windows that you see there allow you to edit what that symbology is, hostile, friendly, or any number of other options within there. Then in the bottom right, if you ever get stuck, you have the information button to take you back to documentation and videos for help. And you have a 3D button so you can go ahead and go into a 3D mode within the map, within the map.army application. Okay, coming out of mapping and going into the symbology that we used, the first question should be, how did we even know what was supposed to comprise any of these formations within Denovia that we made? So going back to the Odin page, clicking in Caucuses, then clicking on Denovia Force Structure. All right, so immediately what you see here are these four icons that pop up. If you get really fixated that they're the green neutral icons in the bottom right, you can go ahead and click that little red diamond, then they turn into the red enemies. Or if they're friends in your scenario, you click them blue, now they're part of the allied forces. And then the drop down arrows under Denovian ground forces, right? So you just keep hitting the drop down arrows and everything else spans out. And you'll see that with the Southern Army. You click the down arrow on the Southern Army, everything that goes into the Southern Army or the Southern Military District slowly expands out from there. Now, we'll do an entire other video when we get to strategic forces on how to go through an order of battle, how to go to and through an MTO. We're not going to peel that apart here, but we understood what the Denovians had based on this chart. What we then did is we went back to map.army, and they have their own symbol generator right here. It's symbol.army. From here, what you're able to do is, again, search the symbol you want. Infantry, flot, flet, attack aviation. You gen it up. You hit apply. You then go over to the symbol modifier. You modify the symbol for whether it's an echelon, whether it's an enemy, whether it's a friendly. Hopefully, at this point, you understand the drill. You, again, accept. And then at the bottom, what you have after you go ahead and accept what type of icon you want, you can download as an image. You can share to other people on map.army via URL. You have other options, of course, in terms of what your symbol looks like. So there's some customization in there. Then, of course, you can always cancel. In the upper right, you have information, which will take you back to documentation. And then you have the closeout. So another option here is if you want to do distance learning with your service members on what is symbology, how symbology looks for certain things like infantry, air assault, Navy. You can go ahead and do it here. Now, again, this won't work on a government computer because it's not a U.S. application. However, please remember that IKN, or the Intel Knowledge Network, has an application from the Learning Innovations branch. When you click that application and you go down in there, it has the same type of symbol generator, mainly to help troops understand, oh, this is what symbology is and how I generate it. So you have a government computer side of it, and then you have a personal side of it, so you can constantly train with or without a CAT card. Now, the last thing that we want to share with you all before we give you back your time is the Observatory of Economic Complexity. This is, again, an open source site, non-government affiliated. So in our slide where we showed what the Denovian economy kind of looked like, this was our inspiration. So you come into the OEC, You go to reports, you hit countries, and then it just randomly selects a country. Every single time you click on this thing, it's just going to select some random country out of the matchmaker. Well, it's not a matchmaker, but out of the queue. You then go ahead and scroll down, and what you can see is all the reported trends from the last time countries gave out their economic data to the UN or IMF or anybody else. And so you can go ahead and see when the economy was going down, when imports and exports were up. You get these cubes that we were inspired by to say how much of the economy is made by certain sectors of that nation's economy. So all in all, it's a great website. All right, Fusionistas, that's all we have. Again, thanks for watching. Stay safe, and God bless.